Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna call the jury. Heck, you're next.
Would you join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take my phones away for 3 weeks.
Brooks.
Here.
Freitag. Frizzalone. Gould. Hart. Moran. Ogalla. Weigel. And Mustis. You have a quorum.
Okay, let me push my star there. Okay. Next, I have the approval of minutes. Do we have minutes to approve? No minutes, okay. All right, this was tabled last month under old business, replacement hires for the animal control. Department, I'll entertain a motion, remove it from table.
Move.
Second.
Second, take the roll. I don't know what.
Brooks.
Yes.
Freitag. Yes. Frizzalone.
Yes.
Hart. Yes. Ogalla. Yes. Weigel.
Yes.
And Mustis.
Yes. Okay, my understanding is you do have a name now? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the replacement hire in animal control.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other old business to bring forward this morning? Then we'll get to new business. Presentation regarding redeployment lack of funding. Julie? Dr. McCormick, please join us.
I did not finish.
Hit your star there, Julie.
I'm a
Okay.
star.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate your being here. Most of you I have met. Dr. McCormick is the psychologist that we've hired through Adult Redeploy, and I kind of want to give you an update on what has happened to us since the budget stalemate in Springfield. Just for the record, the Herald News story, I did not have an opportunity to talk to them before this story, so not everything in here is entirely accurate. For those of you that are not familiar with Adult Redeploy, the people that were on judicial I have presented to, but I just want to give you a brief overview. The goal is to divert nonviolent offenders from prison to more effective and less expensive community supervision. And in addition, we agree to reduce by 25% the number of nonviolent offenders that we send to prison through Will County. That is also part of the great overall plan to reduce the prison population in 10 years by 25%. Because we agree to do that, we are taking more difficult offenders, and the principle behind ARI is that if we use adequate risk assessments and substance abuse assessment and provide them with the additional programming that we can, these people would make it through our program successfully and be less likely to reoffend because of the services that we give them now through Adult Redeploy. I am going to ask Dr. McCormick just to explain a couple of those risk assessment tools in the COG behavioral group so you get a little bit of a better understanding.
We start the process by doing a mental health assessment and a cognitive capacitive screening to see if they're in need of any kind of mental health treatment that may have been undiagnosed or any kind of further assistance due to low cognitive functioning. We also do a risk and needs assessment to see if there's any other additional risks that we need to address to see if possibly they might be too high of a risk, won't successfully complete the program. We also do a trauma assessment to see if there's been any undiagnosed traumatic history, so we can provide treatment for that as well. We do a level of service inventory. This also addresses past history, criminal history, drug and alcohol problems, mental health problems. And then we do additional assessments as needed, whether it be for anxiety, depression, suicide, PTSD. Once we compile all that information, we prepare it with an individual treatment plan to proceed with. As far as the groups are concerned, we have Thinking for a Change. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy approach. It helps clients gain insight into their automatic thought processes, which contribute then to impulsive behaviors leading to negative consequences. So we assist them in learning new ways to think. Also, we do moral recognition therapy. With that program, it takes a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy along with Culber's moral reasoning. A lot of our clients being at high risk, they haven't had moral development, so it helps instill moral reasoning in a high-risk population. It helps move them from pleasure and pain reasoning into one that's more focused on social rules.
In addition, we also have a part-time job placement person that actually goes out into the community and finds all the people that are in our ARI program with jobs. And at this point, all of our people are working. So they no longer have the excuse, I can't find a job, I can't do this. All of the people that are through Adult Redeploy have jobs. Adult Redeploy expanded drug court, mental health court, and veterans court. And in addition, we started our own Adult Redeploy docket. Judge Shainstead is here. Part of the reasoning for that is we take even more difficult clients that might not otherwise be acceptable for drug court, and we separate the population. So the person that has 10 felonies that might be retail theft, gains the skills to not reoffend, but we're treating them with more than just substance abuse help. And the people that are in drug court that might only have, 2 or 3 possession cases are not mixed with that higher criminal element, so that we are able to maintain the programming for all of those clients in different times and with different populations. The goal is to reduce by 78 offenders in Will County the number of the people that we send to prison this year. And in order to reach that goal, they suggest that we serve 135 because they recognize this is a high-risk population. But these people are also the chronic reoffenders that continually come back into the jail. They offend, they go to prison, they come back, they reoffend, they stay in the jail for another 5 or 6 months while they deal with a new case, they go to prison, they come back, they reoffend. So we've addressed the issues that cause them to come back into the community. Drug court started in '99. We have 369 graduates. Mental health court started in 2010. We have 30 graduates. Veterans Court started in 2012. We have 7 graduates, and Adult Redeploy should have its first 2 graduates in December. It's a longer program from the start than Drug Court and Mental Health Court. They automatically come in for a minimum of 18 months. And I wish I could have brought a couple of them with you, but these are people that have long criminal histories. And this girl came into my office the other day. She's getting ready to move to phase 3. She will undoubtedly be our first graduate. I dealt with her back when I was a social worker at the jail 25 years ago, and she popped her head in my office the other day and said, "Remember when I wasn't the horse to bet on?" Because of all these groups that we were able to give her. In 2007, County Board approved a fee that would be levied on all criminal cases, that money, by statute through the state of Illinois, has to come to drug court. So since 2008, that has fully funded drug court, mental health court, and veterans court. No county funding has come into the program since that time. It took me a little while to go back through the history of where the funding came from. It seems like I've been with it for so long, I had to go back through budgets and everything to find that out. But in 2000, a grant was written and 2 people were hired for drug court. When the grant ran out from 2004 to 2005, the state's attorney's office picked up the funding for those 2 positions. So we went from 20 participants to 40 participants. In 2006, I wrote a grant, and we were able to hire a 3rd case manager for the then average of 60 clients in the programs. 2008, the funding that we were able to collect from the fees levied began to fund fully all of our programs. So from 2008 until now, those programs have all been funded through there. There has been another successful grant written, but because we can't hire staff through that when we already have staff, we didn't ask any more staff, partly because I know the board does not like me to hire staff, and then when the grant runs out, come to you and say, oh, can I keep them? So we've tried to maintain what we have with the people we have. In 2015, we wrote the Adult Redeploy Grant with the assurance from the state that this funding would be a continuing funding stream. We were able to hire 3 full-time and 1 part-time staff. Our employment person, which has been a hole in our program for some time, Dr. McCormick, another master's level social worker, and a person that does all our data entry, which is cumbersome and time-consuming because these programs are only funded if you continue to show that they work. And in order to show that, they have to amass a lot of data. It's mind-boggling, actually. We are now at 169 people that are looking at our program, with 121 of them under contract. So between 2006 and now, we have doubled our numbers in our specialty courts. These ARI people that receive ARI services are in all of the programs. They're in drug court, they're in mental health court, they're in veterans court, and they are on that standalone adult redeployed docket. Statewide, I included that colorful brochure that you see. There are 21 sites operating, 24 diversion programs in 39 counties. Their projection is that they have, since 2011, saved the state $70 million, and 1,381 people have been diverted from prison. Since the unforeseeable happened and the state of Illinois does not have a budget, 6 sites have drastically altered what they do. Kane County simply shut their program down. Cook County, beyond June of this year, does not know if they'll be able to continue their program. So all of these people that were being served will now go to prison. We got our funding through the state from January to June of last year. We wrote the grant. We received notification that we would receive that grant, and I incorporated the July 1 till November 30th in last year's grant, in last year's county funding in my appropriations. And I did for the first 6 months of this grant included in the 2016. So the appropriations are there, but as you can see, the state of Illinois now owes me $202,000, almost $203,000. There is an additional $99,000 that is still due to come to me between now and July 1 from the state of Illinois. But again, the rumor is that we may not have a budget until November of this year.
Can I just say something really quick? And I hate to interrupt you. I just wanted to point out something, because when we were in executive last week and Lois was talking about the grants, and I had asked her, have they been paid? I just wanted to clarify, you have not been paid on that.
We have not been paid.
So I just wanted to put that in, because we were
Yeah.
told, and I did not think you were, so.
No.
I just wanted to highlight that.
We were awarded the grant,
But you were never.
but we were never paid. So I am now, drug court has positioned itself to have adequate funds on hand to be able to cover anticipated new expenses and contingency. When that funding came to us, I hoard that money. I admit, I do not like to spend a dime more than I have to. The first grant that we get, I left money on the table. I didn't spend all the money that we even got through the first grant, because I don't like to spend money that I don't have to. We decide what services they need, we give them the service they need, but we don't, I don't just send people to training because there's money in the training fund. I don't buy a bunch of curriculum because I have money in curriculum. I try to be fiscally responsible with the money that you have entrusted me.
Julia, I'm going to stop you just for a second, okay?
Good, because I'm getting upset.
Yeah. Let me say that, first, I think that these programs, and I'm a skeptic, as you know,
I know.
but they have worked for many people, and they have done diversion from prison. And I know you grant comes from the state, and so therefore you show the state the return on the investment. But there's also return on investment to the county, because one of the areas that Mr. Benefield is going to try to work with the judicial system is, how do we reduce our jail population? It's very expensive. And so I would also be interested to see if you could do some crunching and some numbers to say, here's how many days of diversion we've had out of the county jail.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to demonstrate, or have you demonstrate to the county board that there is a return on an investment to the county. Okay. In the meantime, it sounds like, once there's a state budget, I do feel these types of grants will be funded because there is a return on that investment. So it sounds like, the old, kind of like you're between two, buying a new house and you still own the other one, you need that bridge mortgage, Darren. So it sounds like we're going to have to do some kind of bridging for you, which I would suggest we're going to send you over to a judicial committee, and we're going to send you to finance committee.
Okay.
I would like you to put something together, say what you think you may need, and if you can show the committees kind of the return that we're getting here at Will County with these programs.
Okay.
And of course, we're just scratching the mental health area now, which is probably the largest area for incarceration in our jails. And it's not just us, it's all over the country. I like to think I'm a little versed in it only because of my involvement with other counties, to National Association of Counties, and especially the large urban, large counties. This is always the topic of conversation. Jail populations, courts, and specifically they talk about mental health within our judicial system. I like to say, you may know, who operates the largest mental health facility in the country?
Los Angeles County Jail.
Los Angeles County Jail has the largest mental health facility in the entire country. And I've seen some initiatives come out of Florida, Dade County, Florida, where they do try to triage mental health folks into the right facilities and not into the jail. So, so I think if you can put some of that data together, we'll send you over those two committees next month. I'm going to actually ask for a motion to send, and let's put something together.
Okay.
See what you think you're going to need. And the only other question I would have, Mary, this is for you, and maybe you also know, is that if we kind of give funding, and then we receive the grant, are we able to pay back those funds back to the general fund? Yes?
I believe that you will, and we can reach out, I think that we need to have a conversation with a grant coordinator and just make sure what their perception is as well. Because part of the discussions Julie and I have had are we don't want the state to begin to perceive this as a situation where Will County is able to fund this, so they're not going to give us as much grant funding. We're hoping they'll say, listen, we're trying to hold this together until you reimburse us.
We'll show up in Springfield. We'll send down Suzanne to Springfield, and she'll just keep going on and on and on until she gets her way, The other area I'd like to, Suzanne, a second. The other area I would like, perhaps when Julie comes and gives her presentation, I would like to hear from State's Attorney's Office, their perspective on these specialized courts, and I'd also like to hear something from Judiciary. I know the Chief Judge was here earlier. Oh, there you are.
He's here.
And I know the Judiciary's been very supportive of these specialized courts also, to try to do the diversion of folks that have, especially the mental health, and people who many addictions deal with mental health too. So, and I'd like to maybe Judge, hear your perspective on these courts and how they do help ultimately not only society, but they ultimately help us with our cost of operating a judicial system. So if you could all maybe just say a few words when they go to committee, that might also be helpful. So, is that good?
Suzanne has a question.
Suzanne?
I have a question. First off, you're absolutely correct about with NACO. They had, and Darren, I have a whole slew of information because I went to 2 of these sessions for the mental health. I mean, that was such a big grandstand. And one thing I know of going down to D.C., we were, and I can remember like the first time of going down and then with Lee, they were talking about prescription drugs and doing everything, and it was kind of Will County of going, hey, heroin, that should be, and now it's this focal all throughout the nation. Nothing we want to be proud of being a lead of. But my question, really quick to you, is, Jim, you're saying about doing this in judicial, sending it to committee and sending it, Mary, when you and I talked, it sounded like there was more of an urgency, though, of you receiving these dollars, or is this, that was my only...
The urgency that Julie is facing is that she is now dipping into her core program, her drug court money, her mental health money, her veterans court money. So any monies that she's spending right now are in those programs. And so the question, she either has to make a decision to lay staff off, or if county board is willing to supplement, then she doesn't have to lay them off. But she can't, at this point, if she were to continue employing these people, she's putting the entire program.
Okay, so it wasn't
Yeah,
like
we're talking
something
about
of
the
yesterday.
adult redeploy program will be affected.
And I will make sure that I reach out to our, with Hassert and see about also how they're doing this, because that was another one of my concerns, because as you're going through the budget, and as we're all being fiscally responsible, like you just had mentioned, and all of our departments are, and the county's being so good, that has been one of the problems where, the lawmakers are overlooking, going, well, they have plenty of money. Well, yeah, that's because we've been good and you have not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me make something clear, though, and I think, Julie, you should also have understanding, is this all goes on the premise, and I'm talking now just about the adult redeploy. I think that we perhaps can keep it going until we get a budget in Springfield. But if the program is cut, or the funds are cut, Springfield, this is not a program I think that the county can afford to continue without the subsidy. But I think there could be a willingness to keep it going until we see what's going to happen at the state. But if it gets cut at the state, then it's cut, unfortunately. Because, just the way I guess it would be. I just want to make that clearer.
And I understand that. The governor did include in his 2017 budget a $9 million allocation for adult redeploy, which is actually $2 million more than what he included in this budget. So he talked about it in his State of the State. He continues to talk about it as part of his overall criminal justice reform. It's just
There's certainly,
surreal that we don't have a
There's certainly a
budget.
trend amongst everybody, and it's certainly politically now I guess, one of the hot buttons and that is to reduce the incarceration in this country and in this state. So I do think it'll continue. So, did you want to say something? Okay.
I've been working closely with Julie on this. I actually didn't have an opportunity to talk to Suzanne yet, but I think you and I spoke maybe last week or the week before in regards to this, because I knew that she had been having issues with this. So I did reach out to Hassert. I know you were in DC at the time, so I did reach out to Hassert to see, can Julie and I go down to Springfield, bring Suzanne, do whatever we can. Obviously, they're not in session, but because there's no budget, they don't have the legal authority to release these funds. But again, just to reiterate what Julie said, it was in his state, and that is one of his initiatives. Also reached out to Leslie Munger, our comptroller, and she said the same thing, that they can't release these, but again, most likely, there's no guarantees, but most likely it's going to be funded later on. But, I thank you, Jim, for considering, us bridging that gap, because I really do think it is a benefit to our county, since, Darren had made that initiative in judicial, and I know you had read some articles and been talking to Darren on that, so I know this is a cost-effective thing for us. It's not just going to help our constituents and their families, our court system, but it's going to help the county and the way we spend our money too. So whatever I can do to help, please let me know.
And if you do know people in Springfield, the one thing ICJA, Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, is asking us, there will be some short-term budget, they call them pain point legislation moving forward. Like IDOC runs out of money to pay to feed its inmates at some point. And they're hoping to get ARI funding on one of those short plates of legislation for funding. So if you know anybody in Springfield that might be willing to get that on one of those short-term budget things, that would be really, really helpful.
So what we'll do is, I'll entertain a motion to place this item on both Judicial and Finance Committee. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. And then when it goes to there, we can maybe keep moving and maybe do some type of action next month.
Thank you very much for
Okay,
having me. I
thanks.
really
Thanks.
appreciate it, all of you.
Thanks. Okay. Distribution of the 16 funds to United Way. Bruce, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. In December, the county board approved the agreement with United Way to have United Way make the charitable allocation of funds received from waste management on account of recycling. That's $50,000 annually. So this is the time, they're in the process of making those determinations. They need to know they're going to receive those funds. So we need to have a resolution go to the board pursuant to the agreement. You've got to determine the appropriate amount to go to United Way. So the recommendation is the $50,000 this year to United Way for distribution.
I'll entertain a motion to move $50,000 of funds over to, for the United Way.
So moved.
Move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next is authorizing Workforce Investment Board contract with Pullman North America, Inc. Pat?
The star I put, right?
Yep.
Already on.
It's already on. You can shut the other one off. There you go.
Huh?
Okay.
Push it down here.
So where's the off?
Thank you. I think that we
This one right
distribute
here?
information to everyone in your box about the incumbent worker program or business grants for employee training. We did this a couple of years ago, and under the new Workforce Investment, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, we have the authority to do these grants again. And what they are is a matched grant program with companies in Will County that want to improve the skills of their current workforce, so that then we can come in and help them backfill positions that those people might move into. So we have a contract that is ready to go for training for a company called Pullman North America, which is in Romeoville, and we're seeking your approval to enter into that contract. We have about $700,000 to award to companies throughout Will County for the rest of this year, and we waited until January of this year to start awarding these or marketing the program so that we could be sure we had enough money reserved for any job seekers that wanted to go into training. We have plenty of money to do that as well.
Yeah, this program is, I think, extremely beneficial, not to only employers, but our workforce. It really gives them the opportunity to improve on their skills. So I'll entertain a motion. Moved. Second, all in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. How much, you said you had a $700,000 overall budget to assist these private entities in improving the education and improve our workforce. How much is that of that 700,000 is being appropriated toward Pullman North America?
This contract is for, I believe, $61,000.
67?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And what we do is we ask companies to first submit to us a pre-application to make sure the kinds of training that they're proposing is allowable, that the costs seem reasonable, that they've done their due diligence on selecting contractors for that training. And then we ask them to provide us with a complete application that gives us budget detail, how, if their employees are being trained on company time, how much they're paying those employees, because that counts towards their match portion. We have in the past traditionally kept the grants very small, in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. We found that we had companies coming back to us over and over again because they had a bigger plan for the same employees. So we don't have a limit on it right now, so you'll probably see us come back with many more. If we find that we get to a point where
people are coming in with $300,000 and $400,000 training requests. We'll probably evaluate, do we want to put some limits on it? How do we want to address that? It is only available to companies in our 4 key target sectors, which is healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, distribution, logistics, and business, financial, and information technology services.
Yeah, pretty much covers everything well covered.
Right. Yeah,
So it all fits. Well, let me tell you the other part about why I'm very supportive of these type of initiatives. Much of what goes on at Workforce and things that are available to folks, and there's a means test. I mean, if you're, pick it. You're a computer entry data person or whatever, and you want to say, well, there's a program and I can learn how to write code, for example. But you're making $30,000 a year. We're doing it. You don't qualify for Workforce because you make too much money. This is done more by companies and training, so therefore it makes it much more broader for people to get assistance in improving their work skills, which otherwise very often isn't available through programs at Workforce. One of the things that's very difficult, I think, sometimes with these programs is the only people who qualify are people who really have a history of not being, I'm not moving their lives forward, and it makes it a little more tough. It makes it tougher. It's a hard to serve population. Thank you. This, on the other hand, is really related to improving work skills in our workforce based on company participation. And
we don't often get to assist companies in this way.
Yeah.
So it's a real bonus to help companies expand who are currently here already.
Well, I tend
but it really helps the workforce. At the end, it helps the company, but it really helps improve the skill level of our workforce.
which improves the individual of those in Will County.
Correct.
Which is a positive
Yes.
for all of us.
And opens more jobs.
I tend to be in agreement with this program. I just had a couple questions just to familiarize myself with it a little bit more. And
I guess I just wanted the opportunity to say this program, of all the programs Workforce does, I think gives the most opportunity to the average person, working person.
how much of the, what was our total appropriations for last year? You said you had 700,000 available.
For this program,
Yeah.
we did not provide this program last year.
So it's a brand new
Well,
program.
We've done it in
We
the
did it about
past.
4 or 5 years ago. We were allowed to do that under a special waiver that we had with the U.S. Department of Labor. When the economy got really bad, they pulled all the money and said it has to go to job seekers.
So we're restarting this program.
Correct. So we had a lot of systems in place. One of the other reasons that I wanted to make sure you all had information on this is if there are constituents in your districts who might be interested, we're accepting applications and would really be interested to talk to more companies.
A couple times you had said that you've had corporations come to you with requests of $200,000, $300,000 of an
That's what I'm
assistance.
saying. If it gets to that point, we will reevaluate.
Where will that revenue be coming from? Because you had said that we really don't have a limit on this. So
all
where are
federal.
those funds actually coming from
These
to
are
be
federal-
allocated?
It's all federal dollars.
It's all federal?
Workforce Investment Act money.
So the federal government has no limits on it. One reason why I agree with this is because of this. Personally, I think we're in an era where everybody's going to college and getting 4-year degrees. You go to take a loan for those, I don't understand how folks continue to say that go take $60,000 in loans between 6 and 13% and then try to pay those back when you get out of college. How do you expect a college student to succeed in that environment after they get out when they're paying such high monthly costs just to pay back their student loans? I just don't understand that. And then I can go get a home equity line for prime plus 1. How are we penalizing the college student to go to school? So when I hear that we're actually.
It sounds like a parent who has college age, who understands it.
Well, so when I see a program like this, where we're actually helping those that are already in the workforce to improve those skills, become, I'm not saying better people, but more equipped and better qualified to do additional things, I'm in support of that, so.
You know what, part of the problem with college graduates, they still come out of school with no work skills.
That's what I'm meaning. They've got
Marketable
no
skills.
work skills, they've got, in lots of cases, $50,000 of debt.
And if that's the case, get into politics.
To your point of four degrees, we did just review our
Yeah.
demand occupation list, which is the list of training programs that will help people who are job seeking go into. And the bulk of those programs are something beyond high school, but not more than a 2-year degree. Because we find there's a wide range of occupations that pay really good wages in that pool. So that's really what we're targeting our training dollars for, and that is the rest of the 5.9 million that we're not using for this program is set aside for those.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Pat.
Okay, thanks. So what do you need? We have a motion, a second, all in favor? Yes,
I did want to ask, so when a
Hey,
company...
don't blame me for these
first
meetings
off,
going long.
do you guys contact any companies? Do they always come to you?
We've done some direct marketing. We'll continue to do that in those 4 target sectors. We get out the information to all of our elected officials, to distribution lists we have all over the county to see if we can pull people in. And most people we hear from either heard from it through one of our direct mail or direct constant contact pieces, or they're a referral from someone who knows about the program.
Right, because I know some companies, they have their own tuition reimbursement or things like that. So what differentiates a company who might qualify for this versus a company that does that, or does a company does that could also qualify for this?
Could also qualify for this. Because there is a required match from the company, some companies can't do their training on work time. So a good example is a healthcare institution.
Mhm.
They couldn't provide training to their nursing staff while they're on the floor. So those people go to school or get their training outside of the work hours, and then the company uses their tuition reimbursement dollars to cover the match on the training. If it's done during company time, they can use their wages for the match. If it's not on company time, tuition reimbursement is a really good way for the companies to pay for that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pat.
I'll be back next month. I have
Okay.
more,
I know, you're always coming back, eh? Okay, next is to authorize the renewal of the EMA participation in the State of Illinois Federal Excess Property Program. Do you want, moved? Second? All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Harold, it was nice.
Good job.
Thank you, Harold.
Good job.
Next, we have replacement hire for the Courier Mail Clerk.
Move.
Moved, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next, we have the Will County Public Building Commission and the Will County Judicial Center.
This was a discussion you had.
Oh, I didn't want to move it? I just wanted to
Yeah.
discuss it? No, I want to move it, actually.
Yeah.
We'll discuss it. Somebody make a motion.
Make a motion to move the Judicial Center project to the Public Building Commission.
Second.
Second? Okay, now, this, the discussion is this is just trying to keep everything flowing the way we've historically have kind of made, done things. So this will just move the judicial, basically the courthouse project over to the Public Building Commission. As we get closer to the finalizing our consulting agreements, which will eventually wind up over there. And I think David's close to I think he's close to concluding one, which would be White, and he'll be starting a new negotiation with the construction manager probably in the next, hopefully, week or so.
Best benefits.
Yes.
You have to save a space for that, too.
Okay, so the motion is to save a space for this on the county board agenda? Was it your motion?
No, not for this one.
Construction manager, you
Huh?
wanted, for what you're
Oh,
doing interviews tomorrow, you want to save a space.
I'll say, yeah, let's finish this, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's
let's
moved
finish this. So it was a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and then we do need to save a space for construction,
CM negotiations.
CM negotiations on the upcoming county board agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to save a space for that purpose. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. And then we're into proclamations. Mr. Brooks?
We have 4, Mr. Speaker, 2 of which Chuck and I will read, 2 Joe Babbage and Judy Ogala will read on next week. Do you want to know what they are?
Yeah, just go run through them real quick.
Okay, recognize April as Fair Housing Month. I was asked to do that one. Recognize Neuqua Valley High School Competitive Dance. Chuck was asked to do that because he can dance.
Yeah.
Proclaiming March 29 Welcome Home Veterans Day. Joe Babbage was asked to do that one, and Healthcare Workers Day, Julia Gala was asked to do that one.
Okay, is there any questions on proclamations? The only thing I'll say is, are these all going to be read from the podium?
The first 3,
Presentations.
yes,
You will be read into the record.
into the
Okay.
record from the desk.
Okay.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
I meant to say that, thank you.
Okay, next we have the appointments by the county executive. I want to, we're adding, I assume this is on area, we're adding the Greenfield Sanitary District appointments. This is something, I don't know if someone wants to address this. Nick, you want to, this is something we put together. I think this is in your
In our
district?
yes.
And so we're trying to accommodate a situation there, so it's important that we move this.
Without getting into too much gory details, this is basically a defunct district that we couldn't find members years ago, and it just went away, and unbeknownst to us, because once we appoint these people, we have no oversight over them. They're appointed, they run themselves. City of Joliet's been providing service to these residents and not been able to collect any money for that. So with the help of Denise Winfrey, which I really appreciate, we were able to find 3 people willing to serve on this, so that's what we're bringing forward. And the plan is to create the board and then dissolve the board through legal action, and the city will be able to bill these people directly, I
that's
believe.
good.
So, I mean, it's getting rid of a board that was hard to keep functional anyway, and in some way you could argue it's consolidation of services, but it's just the right thing to do, because otherwise Joliet may be forced to, I don't know if they legally could, but they could shut off the sanitary service.
Oh, no, that's
So
even
that,
worse.
I don't know if they could, but this allows Joliet to or collect the money that they've been expending, so.
And Denise, you're going to keep working with these folks? Keep them on? Keep 'em
She's
on-
she's
yeah.
done all her work. She's got the, she
I want to make
recruited
sure
3
she
people.
keeps them going.
Yeah,
That's
right. Well, once they form the board, it's not going to be
They
in
can be able
existence
to take
very
action.
long.
It'll be
It's
dissolved
going to be
fairly-
dissolved, so
fairly
hopefully in the
quickly.
short term, it's going to be dissolved, but it's, without a board in place, you can't take the action to dissolve it, so.
So I'll entertain a motion to move those appointments forward.
Thank you.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. The other thing I want to mention about appointments, the county executive has brought forward another appointment to the ESTB board, which we've been holding back on while we try to go through consolidation. But I did ask Mary if she could look at, here's the problem, if we appoint them and through consolidation, most of the dispatch centers go away, the representation by old dispatch centers would they remain or would they be removed? Therefore, kind of giving us the ability to reorganize that board with consolidation. So I did ask Mary to look at that and to see what the situation actually would be.
I knew the ordinance that was passed and thought perhaps some qualifications had been added that would limit those, give you the latitude to limit those terms, but there are no qualifications for that, so I think they would just serve out their terms.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Nick, I know you, yeah.
I'm defer to the lawyers on the legal, but the ETSB bylaws address that issue. And for example, the Village of Bolingbrook consolidated with Westcom, their board, our bylaws require it to go away. So when they consolidate, their board rep goes away.
Well, what I'll do is, what we'll do then is this, I'm going to request that we remove this from the appointment list, that it not go forward for next county board meeting. So I'll first entertain that motion. Second, all in favor? Aye. Then, Mary, if we can look at, if you can now review the ESTB bylaws to see if that's actually the case. Because if that's the case, then we could move them forward, all of them that have come forward. And if their thing goes away, it goes away. I'm still a little leery. I would still have to make sure that is it through consolidation. But Mary, if you'd review that, and you could come back and tell us whether that would apply,
Jim,
whether it would apply or not. Go ahead.
I understand what you're trying to do, and maybe the question really is, beyond the ones that are consolidating and those going away, is you're saying people who are appointed to other positions that, if we say reorganize the board and eliminated representative spots, do those people basically get removed with a consolidation, or do we have to serve out the term? Because
they have to serve out the term. That's the problem. Because I talk about the dispatch centers, but you might even want a different configuration.
Right.
What did we do? We won't. Maybe you'll say, well, whatever. I don't know what it could be, but you might see a total different kind of configuration to make it.
But when we reorganized the board back in like 2006, there were people who were probably mid-term. We didn't wait for their terms.
Oh, yes, if they left voluntarily. You couldn't have forced them off.
I think we need to look at that, because I'm not sure that.
I know, because we went through that. Prior to that, when we reorganized the board, we couldn't remove them. Those people that were
But if we're fundamentally changing the composition of the board, we have to wait till all those terms expire? Because I don't recall us holding ETS appointments.
We added to the board. It was easy.
We didn't remove positions.
We weren't removing people, so it was easy to do in 2006.
Well, that's why we didn't do it then.
Yeah, so.
I thought we removed some positions.
No, we were adding positions, actually. So,
I have a question.
prior to that, we removed positions, and then we're told that those who were their appointments had to go to the.
Just for the board's sake, we have 15 ETSB board members currently. That's down because of these previous consolidations. With the 4 that are likely to consolidate, the Sheriff, Romeoville, Eastcom, and Linkaway, we expect there to be 1 rep at this point for the ETSB board. However, they configure their own governance board individually, but there should be 1 rep. So we should be down to, if you remove 3, it's 12, I guess. So.
Mary, and we are moving in that direction, so it might be easier.
Well,
I think we'll know in the near future exactly what you think the makeup could look like. In the meantime, Mary, if you could take a look at it, and we can.
Suzanne's
yeah.
Yes, Suzanne.
Okay, so, Jim, when we first discussed this, and Nick is definitely right, like, when they're no longer, when that dissolves, those appointments are automatically dissolved. But that, I didn't think was our end game. I thought we wanted to look at with everything now, with everything being brand new and a new start, of what our ETSB board, what the structure, what control do we have of being able to change possibly the structure and even make it less members?
County board can change the structure.
Well, I thought that was our end
We've always
game.
done it in conjunction with the county executive's office. I don't
Right.
want to.
And to sit down with.
A lot of this comes out, in the past, it's come out of the county executive's office,
But that's what I thought our
suggestions were.
whole reasoning why we weren't.
Well, I will tell you that.
I would like to sit down with Nick and Larry and talk about this.
I have no problem that we should sit down and just talk about what would, restructuring it now.
I will,
That's what I would
I know we had a committee of the whole scheduled. I know that was postponed, but that I would suggest or propose that be a topic of where are we at right now and how did we get here? Because we should go through, for the board members who I don't know are familiar with the current representation, of how many county reps there are, how many police reps, how many fire reps. We have one public person, and then the dispatch. But you'll see where the representation is, and then, and what the law allows, because the rewritten law last year allows for some changes, which,
Correct.
Which I don't know that we want to act on those
No,
changes.
we do not.
Because one of the changes
Hey, no.
was not, you don't have to have a county board rep. I think it is good to have a county board rep on the ETSB.
We should have too.
But
So I think that maybe that's the way to go forward.
I would like to have that
We'll
way.
start to discuss.
And what we can
whether
do and what we can't do.
Whether the board should be reorganized and what type of representation should be on that board. And also
we-
looking at the new
do you think,
act.
Jim, you're going to schedule a committee of the whole or some other
I'm
committee?
actually thinking that should maybe be a smaller
A
working
small,
group.
yes, that's what I would,
Because we can update the board on where
Well,
everything
that- why,
stands with
Nick?
the building and the other related pieces.
I'm thinking.
I mean, if you care, if you don't
I'm
care.
thinking we could put either an ad hoc committee together, or we could assign it to a committee. I'm trying to think, you know, these type of things used to go through Public Works, but I'm not so sure that's.
no.
Yeah, let's talk about maybe,
Emergency management, who else?
Public health, wasn't it?
health and, well, and that was my other thing. The other committee that would deal with this would be Public Health.
Can't we just do a small, like,
Or we could do a
working
small ad
meeting,
hoc
like you
committee.
said?
Well, you know, here's what I would do, is I'll entertain a motion to allow the formation of a ad hoc committee for the purpose of reviewing ESB board.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor? Aye. I'll talk to you, Zal, and I'll talk to you, Nick, we'll see we'll try to put a committee together, all right? Now, off the top of my head, though, I would say that, Judy, I would probably ask if you would have time to sit on that committee. From a legislative standpoint, I would ask you, and you sit on there also. Tom has served in this arena for some time, so maybe Tom, and then,
You're gonna appoint all the,
well, I'm asking if you have an interest behind the committee, you know. Herb, you know, you as leadership, or you can put a designee in there if you'd like.
okay.
And maybe myself or designee, and Nick, your office, and, you know, I'm actually thinking I would put Bruce on that committee, and I could take a little break. So Bruce, I'm thinking you could go on that committee.
That's an interesting smile.
And Judy, would you chair that committee? Okay, and Judy would chair the committee. So everyone who I just mentioned, if you're all in agreement of going on, then I'll entertain a motion, that's the committee.
So moved.
Move
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
And of course, Nick, you know, you have the ability to bring more than yourself if you like. I mean, it's a working committee for discussion of what's the best way to go forward. All right? And then I'll leave it up to you guys to schedule your times, all right? All right. That'll work there, Mr. Palmer? It's a start? Do something besides smile, yeah, and shrug your shoulder. I'm trying to move it along, you know? It's like, you know, that's what I get usually for you. I don't know what that means. Okay. I'm giving you the business,
Suzanne,
you
I
know?
had a little side conversation.
Yes? Yes?
So,
Yeah, I would definitely, if I can, may I ask, if you go ahead and share that, being this one, like, I would like to go ahead and, I mean, I do have a few ideas in my own here.
It doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with the chair.
You know, but I just.
You just run a meeting.
There's a right.
You want to be the alpha dog.
I'm gonna be the alpha.
Well, if you're gonna chair, I'm gonna be.
You know, you have no more votes than your own, you know? You decide amongst yourselves who's
I
going to
want
chair.
Judy. I
You
want Judy.
just can have a meeting and you can pick your own chairman.
I
Yeah.
want Judy.
Don't let her intimidate you, Judy.
Just set up a-
I'm only kidding. All right. Can't fight, okay, you'll talk about it, okay.
Herb already voted for
You got
it.
my vote.
All right. Okay, so we'll try to move this forward. What do you think, Nick?
All right.
Okay, all right. The ombudsman, you know, the funding for the ombudsman for the airport is gone. You know, quite frankly, you know, I don't see this airport going anywhere, but I just assume it's just going to fade away, and that'll be the end of it. Mary, I'm kind of looking at you also, because it kind of, you know, at least it's supervised out of your office. I assume this is all done.
I mean, we advised the ombudsman, and I think back in July, I want to say that the money was about exhausted, and we gave him, you know, how much was left, and admonished him not to spend more than that because there would be no reimbursement. And so he has honored that. We have not gotten any invoices from him now in several months, but the contract has now, you know, is set to expire in, I think it was June 1st. So I had sent an email advising leadership that, you know, if there's any interest in renewing the contract with the state, now's the time to start working on those negotiations. But in fact, the state has not funded that program since, you know, for the last 6 months.
So I guess really the question to this committee is, and all of this would go over to your committee, Suzanne. You know, is this something we pursue at the state? I think at this point, just let it go and, okay. I just want to make it clear, it's going away. You know, I think it was more show than anything else. Yeah, so, you know, it was like, we really do care about you, you know. Even though I think maybe people did get some basic information. But, oh, did I not? I skipped the other things. So then I'll make a motion to approve the county executive's appointments. By the way, move, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's done. And then, I don't think we need any more discussion on the ombudsman. We're just not going to pursue it, so. Nick, I would assume the executive's office feels no need to pursue it either. You can let me know. Yeah, just like, you know, so, okay, we'll get to committee reports, land use, Mr. Wago.
Got one zoning case, is a storage facility. Any questions?
Okay, any questions for Tom?
No.
Okay, we'll move along. You know, as you finish, just hit your own button off, would you? Because I don't want to hit it. Finance, Mr. Frizzalone?
Yeah, we got a bunch of things. We're increasing the compensation for the election judges. We'll have the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the bonds for all of our projects. We're increasing planning and zoning commission compensation, merit commission compensation, and appropriations in River Valley maintenance budget, increasing those. We're authorizing temporary loan from the corporate fund to the health department. We are authorizing a court security and sheriff fee study, and we're transferring and increasing appropriations for the year-end cleanups. I think that's it.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Frizzalone? Okay, we'll move along. Public Works, anybody want to comment on Public Works? Mr. Gould's not with us. Tom, you're on that committee, right?
Just general road work, nothing unusual.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions on Public Works? Okay, move along. Judicial, Darren?
Sorry about that, Jim. We just have one thing coming up. We're going to be awarding a bid for body armor for the Sheriff's Department for deputies and COs.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Benefield? Public Health and Safety?
Yeah, I don't have anything for this month. I will just be announcing that Hero Helps event which will be coming up next month, that's all.
Okay. Any questions for Judy? Legislative and policy?
We just have a couple of resolutions, and for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what they are.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Because if you have any questions, you might not know. No, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. Okay, so we'll move along. Capital improvements. Reagan?
We are authorizing the county executive to execute a lease for emergency management response vehicle storage facility. That's it.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Freitag? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along. Executive Committee, any questions for me? Nothing earth-shattering? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to set the county board agenda as amended.
So moved.
Move, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Is there any public comment out there today? There is a need for executive session, correct, Mary? For the purpose of pending litigation.
Oh, we do that?
And I'll probably, depending on what comes out of here, I might have to ask you to redo the agenda. But anyway, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation.
Second.
Move, second, take the roll, please.
Benfield?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Freitag? Yes. Griswold?
Yep.
Hart? Yes. McGowan? Yes. Weigel?
Yes.
And Eustace?
Yes.